I didn't know how to actually start this video off. Um so we're gonna do it like this. Yo, what's up? It's Roseboy Dizzy, the realest nigga that you'll probably ever know or ever see. And I say that because I know that I can see through the shit that other people cannot see through. Because one of the things that I can see through that others cannot is this war that's going on between men and women. It's a war that honestly doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make sense for a few reasons. One of the few reasons why it doesn't make sense is one, because we gotta populate the earth. We have to repopulate. We can't be at war with each other when we have to populate the earth, so we have to come together in some way. The other one is we are hating on each other for just being who we are. And when some people will say like, oh, men are supposed to be sexual creatures and women are this and that, it's like, no. Who we are supposed to be as a man, who I am supposed to be is who I am supposed to be. And if that sounds rhetoric or redundant, that's because it is. Whoever I am as a person is who I am as a man. You see what I'm saying here? Like, some men will tell you like, oh, you gotta be up here, you gotta have a Bugatti, you gotta make 1,000, you gotta make $1 million. Yeah, your net worth ain't up. Well, then you're not a successful man, and all that shit puts so much pressure on the average man that they in turn look at their life and they're like, I ain't got a Bugatti, I don't have this, I don't have that, the bitches ain't on my dick, and it makes them depressed. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to have any of that. What you have to have is love in your heart for yourself. That's really what it takes to be a man. And there's more aspects to it, there's more aspects to being a man than having love for yourself. And that love for yourself is understanding your flaws, understanding what you lack in and what you're good at. Like an example, I lack in actually being able to master an instrument. I hate that about myself, but I love the fact that I hate that about myself because it's who I am. I can play an instrument, I just can't master it. It takes a while, and even if I do get to a point where I master it, I'm still learning. You know what I'm saying? I also don't like the fact that sometimes in social settings, I don't always pick up on social cues. I pick up on social cues pretty well, but there's times where I just don't pick it up that well. And, my flaw with that is something that I do enjoy because sometimes I miss things that maybe I should not have picked up in the first place. And I love that about myself. I love that about myself because of the fact that it's who I am and it's unique to me. And that's why, when I go out to places and there's dudes who listen to the manosohere and then they see me and they get confused, and some of them even get mad, some of them even get angry, like they sit in the corner and they're just like, who the fuck is this guy, why the fuck is he here over here fucking doing his shit? Like, a good example is when I go out to clubs, I love to dance. I feel like I've mastered the art of being able to dance because I have so much freedom inside of me that I can express it when I hear music, And other people, especially other dudes that try to have this horde persona, they literally pay money to get into the club, or they pay gas, because you gotta pay gas to get down there, to get to the club, and then they just stand there. They don't dance, they don't do anything, and then they have this awkward feeling when they try to dance because they're just like, I'm not good at it, or this. And then they see somebody who is free and they're like, man, fuck this guy, But it's like that person is just free. They understand who they are, and they understand that they don't have to care what other people think, and that right there is the sentiment of being a man. And it's also the sentiment of being a woman. Because within the manosphere, the biggest lie is that you have to be a certain somebody. You don't. You just have to be you, and you have to master being you. When it comes to the woman's sphere, there's this notion that you have to please the male eye, and that's not entirely true. See, I'm not a woman. So for me as a man to be like, women have to do this, you know, there's no room for me to say that, because I don't know what they go through, but I get told the things that they go through. And some of the things that I get told is the notion of men making their lives more, insufferable. Let's put it at that. That's the main thing. Like, oh, men are doing this, men are that, men are trash, men. Like, it just sounds like a bunch of chickens in a haystack. Just men. Like, you know, and I'm here to really lay into that, where it's like the hate on men trend. And the hate on men trend is very idiotic. And here's the reason why. Because we don't do anything that could coordinate to that much suffering. One of the things that I had to tell somebody, because there was a video of a guy going up to this girl and asking her out, and she said, "Oh, I'm gay. I'm sorry." And he was like, "Does it matter?" Like, and there's a bunch of women that were just like, "Oh, he's so insufferable. And he makes life just we should hate on people like him." And it's like, you really shouldn't. There's really no need to hate on somebody like that, especially since when I looked at the video, and it didn't seem like he had any, Western heritage. It just sounded like he came from another country, and they may not do the same things we do here, you know. But at the same time, he also did sound like he was socially awkward. And it's not to knock the fact that there are creepy people out there, but people who are socially awkward don't have social cues. They don't. They sometimes when they go up to a girl, or even anybody, but mostly when it comes to a woman, when they go up to them, they don't know what to say. They don't know that they have to state their name. They have to introduce themselves to this person. They get a lot of tension and anxiety inside of them, because they're like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna say?" And from there, a lot of that anxiety leads them to come off as creepy, and the women are just like, "I hate men that are like that." And it's like, well, it goes the same way. We hate women that stare at us from a distance without saying anything, and then have us have to figure out that that's a social cue for us to come talk to you, or it may not be. You see what I mean? Like, there's a dynamic between that. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole dynamic of why, the hate men trend is stupid, because they hate on men for doing men things that we would do. Because I understand, and when I saw that video, I was like, yeah, I understand where he's coming from. He's socially awkward, and he doesn't have the social cues to understand that, she's not feeling him. But at the same time, she doesn't have the sense to say no. You know what I'm saying? Like, when Diddy asks you to party, you gotta tell him no. And that's the problem with society, especially on the female end. And trust me, I'm saying this because I have living evidence. I have evidence being told by women certain situations where I'm like, did you tell him no? Well, I just couldn't. Well, there you go. That's the problem right there. You didn't tell him no. You gotta tell him no with a hard, not a let me be nice. No, you have to tell them no, straight up no. And I've had to say this to a lot of my female friends, because they get themselves in situations. They're like, "What am I supposed to do?" I'm like, "Did you say no? Well, there you go. There you go. All this hesitation, and you could have just said no. Because here's the thing, and then I'll go back to the manosphere when we're in the woman's sphere. Here's the thing. If a dude comes up and says this, oh, hey, how you doing? I thought you look really good, and I just want to see what you're doing, and, I want to ask you out. Oh, I got a boyfriend. Oh, you got a boyfriend? Now, here's something clicking in his brain. Boyfriend, right? To some, that may be a clear sign I shouldn't pursue. But to others, that's a clear sign of, let's see how strong this relationship is. You know what I'm saying? And they'll say, oh, you got a boyfriend? Oh, well, ain't gonna stop me. I mean, shoot. When do y'all usually not see each other? When do y'all usually have a break from each other? Is the relationship strong? What's he doing that I can't do? These questions start to circulate because a no wasn't put here. And I've been a salesman before. And as a salesman, we always stop at a direct no. If there's a hesitation or if there's some there's some going on in there. Okay, so let me see how much more can I put my foot in the door before they initially tell me to leave. And that's what's happening here. If you didn't tell him no, then the door is still open. The door is still open. So if you didn't tell him no, the door is still open. So he's gonna put his foot in the door. Because when you were trying to close it, you weren't closing the door fast enough. And I'd be telling all my female friends, you have to close the door. No. If they say, hey, can I ask you out? Or you mind if I ask you out? No, I'm not interested. Sorry. There. Leave it at that. And then there are some women that would tell me, like, no, but what if he acts aggressively? He gonna act aggressive whether you be nice or not. It don't matter. But at least you got the point across of no. It doesn't matter. Get the point across of no. Here's the thing. Even if you're in an area where you feel like telling him no could possibly lead him to do some heinous stuff, you at least covered your ass for if you need to contact authorities. Because you can tell them straight up, I told him no. I told him no. But telling them, I told him I had a boyfriend. As certain authorities will hear that and they'll say, and I've watched it too, where they're like, well, why didn't you call your boyfriend? And sometimes you don't have a boyfriend. You lied. You know what I'm saying? Why didn't you call your boyfriend? Like, do you have the number to your boyfriend? And now you got to tell them, like, I don't have one. But straight up, just telling them no. Like, I know I've said this a lot, but it's so crucial because a lot of my female friends, and not saying that all of them have one mind, like a hive mind, but hearing them tell me this, and then going out in the public and seeing it firsthand over and over again, I'm like, so no is just not in your vocabulary when it comes to a stranger. Because if you don't say no, then there is room for somebody to try to get a yes, whether it be verbally or physically. You have to say no. And that's the biggest reason why there are dudes that keep pushing. And then they call him creepy, but it's like you didn't close the door. You gotta close that motherfucking door. Close the door. You know what I'm saying? That's my take with the woman's sphere, because both genders are not. I'm not on any gender side. When it comes to the manosphere and the woman's sphere, I am not on any gender side. I'm against both, because both can be the most stupidest motherfuckers in the world. And going to the manosphere, I just watched the documentary with Louis, and it's so amazing to see how men can be influenced by men that they see possibly have power. And power does not equal success. You know what I'm saying? Power does not equal success. power equals elevation. You elevate yourself to a certain point, but you still might not even have any power. And what I mean about this is, if I was in a room with one of these manosphere people, you can even say Myron, I don't care who this person is, I'm gonna talk my shit, because there's nothing that this person can do or say. Think if I was like, do you get women? Do you get paid this amount of money? Do you get this, that? No, 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 and no. But at the same time, I know who the fuck I am, and I don't have to care about that shit. I don't have to care about none of that shit. And that goes to the men out there too. You don't have to care about this shit. You don't have to. You don't have to care about a Bugatti. You don't have to care about a private jet. You don't have to care about a nice suit. You don't have to care about any of that. The reason why you don't have to care is because free will is on this motherfucking planet. Free will is here. You can do what you want to do. You don't have, and even when it comes to me, I don't like cult followings, but at some point, if I continue down the road that I'm going down, then a cult following will appear. But my advice to the people, if somebody were to be like, oh, I'm following you, do what you want to do. If you want to sit around and, master the piano, and stay off of social media, you can do that. If you want to go about your day and I don't know, jerk off in a sock, do it. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. It's your free will. You can do whatever you want. If that's how you find success in your day, you do it. But when it comes to finding success, I have checked a lot of boxes off of my checklist when it came to performing on stage, making music, learning how to roller skate, fucking meeting famous people. I've checked a lot of boxes off, and even then, I still didn't feel success. I've made a good amount of money, and I still don't feel like I still don't feel success. But you know what I felt a lot of success in? I felt a lot of success in making people smile and making people laugh. That brought me so much joy, and I felt successful making somebody laugh. Because in this crucial fucking world, it's amazing to hear somebody laugh, even when the world might initially crash and burn. That's where I found my success in. And also helping people realize that they don't have to live this stupid lifestyle, especially both genders. Both genders do not have to live this stupid lifestyle. When they tell women to be more feminine, and then women get feminine, what? They start getting flustered. What they really mean is, we can't have two men in this damn house. You know what I'm saying? We can't have two men in this house. My mom and my dad have a social dynamic where my mom takes over the parts of the household that she takes over, and my dad takes over the parts of the household that he takes over. What I mean is this: my mom owns that kitchen. My mom owns that kitchen. That's her kitchen. And that kitchen needs to be cleaned, which means that my dad also needs to help out with this kitchen, because my mom, if she's going to cook meals in this kitchen, then the kitchen needs to be clean. Bottom line. And she will also clean that kitchen. She will cook in that kitchen. She will take pride in that motherfucking kitchen. My dad takes pride in fixing the cars, cutting the grass, doing yard work, doing the hard labor that my mom does not want to do. He does it. They have that dynamic, and they help each other out to make sure that that household is taken care of. That's what a lot of people are missing, is that it's not a war. It's not a competition. It's not, once you get into the household, the woman's supposed to be like, oh, he think he could just cut the yard? Well, I can cut the yard too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that. It's just, when you're in the household, right? The guy goes out, hey, I'm gonna go cut the yard. Okay, well, you know what? While he's cutting the yard, I'm gonna go make some dinner. So that way, when he's done cutting the yard, there's food on the table, so that I can eat and he can eat. You know, and in the mind state of a man, I'm gonna make sure that these cars are all good. Make sure that the oil is checked on all these cars, so that way, when she goes to work, she don't have to worry about check oil light on, because I already went and got it checked and the oil is good. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is supposed to be a team effort. We're supposed to be a team. I hope that, this conversation reaches the right people. And I hope that the right people, when they hear this, they're like, oh, finally, somebody's saying the things that need to be said. Because I seriously don't understand why there are certain people that just won't say the things that need to be said. This is one of those that need to be said. So, if possible, I think it's time for a lot of young men to step away from the manosphere and start stepping into their own flesh and skin, step into their own bodies, not the ones that they created. Step into your own self and realize who you are, because once you do that, you will unlock so much freedom that you probably won't even know what to do with it. But until then, just remember, man, it's the realest nigga out there, Roseboy Dizzy. I'll see you, and probably let's conversate another time. Take care and peace out.